Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 542. I'm Bryan Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined once again by Skye Warren from the Romance Author Mastermind, a fantastic, successful, filthy romance author, and of the authoradsintensive.com, where you can walk through some ad testing there. Skye, we're very happy to have you back. How are you?
Hi, Bryan. Thanks for having me back. I am glad to be here. I've got my big cup of milk tea, and I also have my dog behind me, which I don't think I showed you before. She
Oh,
sits in on my calls. So,
I did think that was a dog one time when you sat up, and I'm
yeah.
like, there, that's a dog behind you.
Yeah, it's terrible
Uh,
ergonomics. My husband is horrified, but
what
what are you going to do?
are you gonna do? Sometimes the dog's just gonna sit where the dog's gonna sit.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Well, I'm really excited you're back. One thing I wanted to follow up on from last week's episode, uh, we talked about this question of, okay, if someone is going to be a success in 2026, what might they want to do in 2024? And I loved that your answer was, in a way, very introspective for that author. They're removing blocks that are preventing them from uh, keeping their foot on the gas, really, that are making them hit the brake many different times. Do you feel like there was a moment in your career where you had to develop or learn kind of the calming techniques to allow you to keep your foot on the gas?
That is an interesting question. I feel like I've been doing a lot of learning on that the past couple years. It's really been a focus of mine, kind of like I feel like the terminology nowadays is like nervous system regulation. So if
Mm-hmm.
you just Google that, you'll hear a lot of interesting stuff that you can do. Though I will say that when I started leveling up,
Yeah.
one of the weird sort of like twisty, this is really painful, but also it seems to be working things is that I had this sort of health thing happened to me where I
Uh,
was a regular sort of workaholic human. And then suddenly I was sleeping 14 hours a day. I was maybe
mm,
upright like 2 hours a day. And it was kind of like, wait, this is horrifying. We have to get a certain amount of money for my family. And so
yeah.
that was when I learned Facebook ads and it was very do or die. And in a way, it's like, it's terrible because it's like, I would never want to push that on someone, but I also know I learned it there when maybe I would have like dawdled forever, you know?
Right.
And so I also, I like, that's when I would like love inbox zero. I wouldn't always have inbox zero, but I would love it. That would be the goal. And I just truly like released it out of necessity. And so
Yeah.
like I didn't look at reviews because when would I look at reviews? And
Right.
I didn't, not even see what was happening in my inbox half the time. It was just like scan it for something that like literally must be returned right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this way it kind of like shielded me from that. And then I got out of that space. I'm still kind of in it. I go in and out, whatever. But it really made me realize like sort of how little it matters to your sales. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, what what anyone might be saying or what I mean, we see it all the time, right? You see it with other people. There's kind of like someone gets canceled and then they're still like number one on Amazon. And you're like, how does that work? And like, that's how it works because actually they're fine. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the hardest part of that for them was sort of like physically and mentally dealing with this sort of like getting canceled thing, but it didn't actually harm their career. So
Right. No, we've seen a few instances of that even in the last couple of years. Absolutely. That's really interesting. And I struggle with the same kind of thing is like, what do people think about me? You brought up you have a family, I have a family. Making money is not a bad thing. And yet, the second you start making money is the second you start ranking higher. The haters do come out. And so, being able to regulate your nervous system, being able to think about what's really important. Is it more important that you have the love of your family or the love of some random person who just writes hateful comments on the internet?
and I think like step one is that self-awareness, kind of like we talked about in the last episode with like gathering the data and then you get to decide what to do about it. Because so I had this producer reach out. She was great. She was super excited about my book. And I kept essentially ghosting her. And then I would get back with her and then I would sort of ghost her again. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And
Hmm.
I was like, well, it's just because I'm like really busy. And then I had this family thing happen. And then I had this. And then, I had all these reasons, right? Like we have reasons for everything that we do. They're
Of
just not like
course.
always the right, they're not the true reasons, right? And then at some point it finally hit me. I was like, oh, I'm blocking this. I'm not ready to have a
Hmm.
movie because I feel I have learned and how to slash just naturally feel very safe in the romance community and also even in the wider like bookish community.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I understand that the rules are very different and that people are, or I think that the rules are very different. I think they're not going to understand me. It's just going to be like more trouble than it's worth. It's going to be painful. So I'm like literally blocking it, and then I had to look at myself and be like, all right, do you want a movie badly enough to like literally make that your focus and work through it? Or not. And I was like, or not. So now, I don't know. I'm more at
Hmm.
peace with like, oh, I don't have a movie because I mean, there could have been also a lot of other factors, but also I was just like, wasn't ready. I'm not ready. It's okay.
Yeah.
Most of us aren't ready. Like,
Right.
I mean, to be honest with you, most people who are close, like Colleen Hoover has my like ultimate respect. I wouldn't trade places with her. And a lot of people who know her
Hmm.
wouldn't trade places with her. Because even if she's going to be okay, we also acknowledge like it's very hard and you sort of have to grow up to it. You know what I mean? You don't just like
Hmm.
one day you're you and the next day you're Colleen Hoover. You would have a nervous breakdown. I would have a nervous breakdown for sure. But I mean, so
Yeah, I would too. Oh my goodness. You bring up such good points. I mean, we want this great success, but the success comes with some challenges that cannot be uncoupled from the success, and you need to be have deep self-awareness. You need to have deep coping mechanisms. You need a deep support network. These things all need to be there if you are going to go to that next level.
yeah.
At least if you're healthily going to go to that next level.
Yeah, and I was also really like, I mean, of course, Colleen Hoover's like the highest, one of the highest
Right.
levels you can be at. But even if you're at like a lower level where you're just kind of like, I have my day job, should I quit it? I mean, it's not a black and white answer, because what if you actually are able to function better when you have, a regular career, and that's perfectly fine. Like you're not ready to have the movie yet. That's okay. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. You're just not
Yeah.
ready yet. You can have it when you're ready.
Yeah. No, I think especially with you, I think you made the right decision. You know what you want to keep you happy and to be fulfilled, and what fulfills one person or what one person's dream is doesn't have to be your dream. And so I think, maybe the time comes around again and you're like, I'm ready this time, and then you go for it. But you know, you're doing okay for yourself. I don't think you don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, and there's genuine fear there that like I work with Heather Hildenbrand, who's a mindset coach, and she would,
Mm-hmm.
she'd be like, yeah, let's work on it, Skye. Let's work on the fear you have of the whole great wide world seeing your stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I've got other stuff to work on, so it's fine. We're busy.
Mm-hmm. You're the second person I've heard bring up Heather's name this week. Obviously, she's doing some good work out there to
I love
help
her.
folks and their
Yeah,
brains. Awesome. Well, little ad read here. We've got openings coming up in my group coaching program known as Pathfinders. If you're a five-figure author looking to scale to six, email me at brian@sellingforauthors.com with the subject line scale to six. Previous week's question, and only one person answered it. We haven't had all these answers, but I'll ask this to you too, Skye. If you got a TikTok shop order from a celebrity, who would make you the most excited? And Bennett said, I would love for best-selling author Ellen Hilderbrand to pick up my trilogy. She's my gold standard. When her book Swan Song showed up in my Autobots, I celebrated for a week. Doesn't have to be TikTok shop, even just generally, if you knew this person was a reader of mine, what would make you excited, Skye?
I, I like that the past person said an author because I was kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, I was like, do I know any actor's name? Like,
Any person's name in the world, yeah.
but uh, from an from an author point of view, I am legit obsessed with Lisa Kleypas, who writes multiple subgenres of romance.
Mm-hmm.
I reread her books all the time. I'm in the middle of rereading one now. So if I ever heard that she had read my book, and I don't know if I would actually be happy if I just saw the order, you know what I mean? Because that's not,
Sure.
you got to have a follow up order to know.
Like someone that's bought twice, or they emailed you and said, I love
Right,
this so much.
exactly.
Yeah.
The order might just actually be worse. But yeah, no, knowing she had read one of my books and enjoyed it would be amazing.
That is awesome. I love that. Folks, you can, if you really want to, answer the question of the week at the Sell More Book Show after party. See, the problem is I don't always go in there in the Facebook group and do my little at everyone. If I do my at everyone, we get 20 answers. I'm just trying not to bug all of y'all, but it kind of sounds like you want to be bugged. I'll just remember to bug you next time. Okay, so let's go into this week's top story. What ad platform is best? Authors found Amazon ads are best for promoting KU books. BookBub ads are easiest for promoting discounts. And Facebook ads allow for the largest reach, according to a survey conducted by BookBub. In a survey of over 200 authors reported that BookBub ads were the easiest to use and offered flexible targeting, being the only ad platform that allowed for targeting readers who buy books from specific non-Amazon stores. Authors found that Amazon ads were the easiest when it came to promoting KU books and tracking conversions. Meta ads were the favorite when it came to flexibility and a big reach. Quote, 82% of surveyed authors agreed that they could reach a large audience of readers using Meta ads, says BookBub's Audrey DeRobert. And authors appreciated the detailed demographic data of those who engaged with their ads. Meta was also the only platform that allowed authors to drive newsletter signups, something that 20% of authors did. You can gather additional insights and tips from the post in our show notes. Skye, Facebook ads, your bread and butter. This seems pretty like right down the middle. It doesn't seem like there are any big surprises here. But did you have any insights from this post?
So I love BookBub, but I have this terrible habit of tearing apart surveys from how they're made, and
You
so
mean BookBub submitting this to BookBub authors who have probably used BookBub ads is not like a standard scientific process?
right. I mean, to start with, I mean, 200 is a small number anyway. Also,
Right.
saying that they had to have used a BookBub ad in the past year automatically rules out anyone who tried it and found that it didn't work for them. So,
Yes.
but I didn't read it in depth. I just scanned it, and so maybe you saw this. Did they actually ask about ROI? I didn't see that.
That's a good question. I'm not sure either. It is very different. Someone who used it and thinks it's doing well but doesn't have data versus someone who just used it and is hopeful.
So, in fact, what I would really love to see, and even if this were a smaller sample size, is if someone really actively uses all of them and then gives me their ROI for each
Mm,
platform. That would
mm-hmm.
be even more useful to me. I don't think if they did ask ROI, I don't think it was one of the graphs because I looked at those.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of like if someone's in KU and everyone they know is in KU, which isn't that hard to do because everyone I know is in KU. Like it's hard to,
Yep.
even though I'm wide.
Yep.
So it's like, and so they're going to be like, oh, what do you do? I do Amazon ads. Okay. So they do Amazon ads. Then, um, then how do they know if they would make more money on Facebook ads? You know what I'm saying? I mean, the same
Right.
obviously goes in reverse. If they take a course on Facebook ads and they're, don't really try Amazon ads. I mean, ease of use to me, like, not a super valuable metric unless
Right.
you're truly like a hobbyist. But then again, if you're a hobbyist, why do you need ads at all? So anyway, those are my thoughts on this.
No, I really like those thoughts because we get it. There aren't so many authors that we get that many surveys that have enough statistical value due to there just not being enough people who are willing to respond to a survey, the way that the surveys are constructed. I'm very interested in who and how people are using BookBub ads in 2024. It's not something I've heard much about, and that doesn't mean I think they don't work in 2024. BookBub used to be such a big thing. Everyone was talking about BookBub. When BookBub came out with the ads, everyone was talking about the BookBub ads. Haven't heard as much of late. And maybe there are people out there that are just kind of sitting on it. They're like, yep, I use BookBub ads and I'm using it to get 6 figures, and I don't want to tell anybody about it because I don't want to teach a course, and because I don't want anyone to steal my method. That is possible, but it's just hard to know because people don't talk about it as much.
Yeah, I feel like across the board, what I have experienced and what I have seen other people mention is just that it does cost more. And again, like that's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
is like those platforms get to set their baseline price of like what that spot is worth to them essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
even though it's like you may look at it like I'm paying 50 cents a click or whatever it is that you're paying per click, but that's not really like it came up with that number based on how much they valued that space at.
Right.
So if they valued it at less, you could have paid 25 cents a click. If they valued it at more, you could pay $1 a click. Like it's kind of made up money, made up numbers on that. And they
Mm-hmm.
tend to be more expensive. But I will say, I have a lot of people in the past join my course and say, okay, great. I'm super excited to learn how to do this so that I can grow my Google Play readership. And I'm like, you're not going to grow your Google Play readership here. So
Yeah.
honestly, if that's truly your goal, I think BookBub ads are the best. I would
Mm-hmm.
question why that is your goal. I would question that, but like, um, but I mean, to me, I think it's probably the strongest place to reach specifically Google Play
People from
book
that.
readers,
Yeah.
Kobo readers. Like that is even Kobo, who you can target on Facebook. Like still, you can probably reach them better here. So, yeah, I think if people want to use it for that.
Yeah, authors looking to go wide and succeed wide. I mean, I see posts on Wide for the Win all the time. It's like, hey, look, my Google Play is up or my Kobo is up, and doing Kobo promos, and it's like great. And so maybe BookBub ads could be helpful for that. But for folks in Kindle Unlimited, it still kind of seems like Amazon, Facebook,
And the thing is, I've
repeat the
been
pattern.
wide my whole career, really,
Right.
with like a few tiny exceptions. But and I think the misconception about that is that, listen, I love being on the other platforms. I love Kobo. I love Google Play. At the end of the day, though, there's only so many readers, and that is a very small number compared to the number of readers we have on Amazon. So, like, I'll
Right.
sometimes, it doesn't happen all the time. I'm not that huge on them, but I'll occasionally get this sort of notice of like, your release was in the top 10 of all of our releases this week or whatever, something like that. And I look at the number and I'm like, all right, so now I kind of have an idea of how big the platform is, and it's
Right.
not that huge. And that doesn't mean you don't go on there, and it doesn't mean you
Hmm.
don't even participate in their promos. In fact, I always do. Like the Kobo promos, I submit like 5 every month probably.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, yeah, absolutely do them. But this is kind of why I said I'll ask, like, why do you want that though? Because usually
Mm,
it's not because they really are just like dying to be popular among Google Play people. Like they think that's some sort of like level up ability. And I'm like, the most successful wide authors, it's not just that they're making more on Google Play, they're making more on Amazon. And that I think is one of the biggest misconceptions. Like especially when you're KU and you want to go wide, is that you think, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lose some money on Amazon, but I'm going to make it up on all these other platforms, right? And it
mm-hmm.
really doesn't necessarily work that way, but you actually can make more on Amazon because you are getting the full purchase price of the book instead of this smaller amount.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. All right, my hot potato of wisdom question. So you're an author, you're starting out. Skye, which ad platform would you recommend once they are at a point where ads could be profitable for them? So obviously not like, hey, my book came out yesterday. Let me go spend $1,000. But if it's someone who does have some nice organic sales, which ad platform would you recommend they consider trying?
which one is it for you? Which one?
Oh, you're turning around on
I
me?
know. I know I'll tell you my answer, but I want to know your answer
Oh, of course.
because
Yeah,
I think I know what it is, but I might not know. But
sure.
I'm too
Um,
biased. It's obviously
I
Facebook
know.
ads for me. It's just there's no way that I could come up with a different thing than that.
Right. You know
I've just
Facebook ads. You know them inside and out.
yeah.
Yeah. And just
And
like me, I know Amazon ads inside and out. Um, and so I think my worry always with someone who's new, who's
Mhm.
starting out on Facebook ads, on Amazon, if you accidentally put like, oh no, $1,000 budget, I meant to put $10. Usually they're not going to spend 1,000. You put
Mhm.
that on Facebook, Facebook's going to spend it. And
Mhm.
I don't want to be like, oh, I don't trust people not to put the wrong
Mhm.
numbers in, but I don't trust people to put the right numbers in because people make mistakes all the time. And so that is one of the reasons.
Mhm.
But look, I teach Amazon ads. I've run hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Facebook
Mhm.
ads. And
Mhm.
so it's not like I haven't used them myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most important part of the question really is just that, yeah, you're going to start somewhere, but at the end of the day, it's not really an either or situation. You're going to find readers on any ad platform that you couldn't have reached on a different ad platform.
Right.
So they all
Right.
have value. And to me, that's why I'm so focused on ROI because for a while there, it hasn't been, it's been a few years, but for a while there, I was solidly using all three for each release. So I was solidly using Facebook ads, Amazon ads, and BookBub ads.
Right.
But the split of the spend, and I think maybe for a few, I even did a third each. And then I was just like, no, that doesn't make any sense because
Mm,
it makes the most sense. And actually, I do actually think this is where BookBub ads can start to be helpful because so Facebook ads highly scalable, and in fact, I think almost the highest. I mean, I
yeah.
feel
Oh,
like, yeah. So you can spend a lot before your cost even starts rising, and then it depends on what your ROI was to start with, but you can spend more and more, but you will hit a ceiling at which point it
yes.
stops sort of being more effective to spend more, and
Mm.
then you take that money and you put it into a BookBub ad.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually do think that's maybe what a lot of people are doing, especially if you see a KU ad. I bet like that's part of the strategy there that they're kind of maxing
Mm.
especially if a KU ad and it's like someone in the top sort of 10 or 20 or something, they're
Right.
maxing it out everywhere else. So might as well put some money over here. Um, but I think in a way, I think even though I think Amazon ads have these couple of advantages, but they have a big disadvantage to me that I would love to know if it is fixable,
Oh, I'm
which is
excited.
that so the big advantage to Amazon ads is that I do think it's easier to use. Like, I mean, for one, I
Yep.
mean, that still counts for something. It's not to me the most important thing, but it
Right.
is,
Right. Right. Right.
right? Like, you don't have to come up with an image at all. I mean, you can't, which is also a downside because I like images. I'm good with them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, but it is easier. You don't have to come up with it. Um, and yeah, just a few clicks, it's made. And oh, well, also what I was gonna, yeah, the ROI, like it gives you the row is right there. And I think the biggest downside that I see to Facebook ads is not usually that they put in the numbers wrong or anything like that. The biggest downside that I've seen is just that they don't know what their ROI is. And so they're
Mm-hmm.
just sort of blindly, and it's not like they don't know in the first week or something, that's like normal. It's just like, oh yeah, I've been running ads for years. What's your ROI? I don't know. And it's like,
Yeah.
we've got to know, and we can know. You can know, but it's not as straightforward and as easy as it is to know on Amazon. The
Yeah.
reason why I still wouldn't recommend starting there, just from my experience, was that um, was basically the amount of time it takes to be able to iterate slash improve
Right.
the numbers. So
Right.
I actually did this consult with someone who is, I mean, she was very nice and everything, but an ads expert, she speaks on it, all that kind of stuff. And I did a one-on-one consult. And I hadn't run Amazon ads for a while. So I was like, all right, I'm going to book it. I have a month till we talk. I'm going to kick off a bunch of ads, just at like, I think I did $10 a day.
Yep. Yep.
And then I spent, so it was $10 a day times 30 for like, I don't know, five to 10, book one of a series. So it's a decent amount of money to throw down when you don't actually know what it's going to do. Right.
Of course.
And I didn't look at it at all because I knew I wasn't going to be able to know what to do with them. So, and the whole point was to ask her and just see. And so she came and looked at them and she was like, out of maybe 8 of these, maybe 2 have enough data for you to know anything about what to do next.
Mm.
And then she looked at like a couple, those 2, and she was like, no, not really though. And so it just became this, like, you would have to wait some more. And I'm like, wow, I could have done a lot in 30 days on Facebook ads. And so, with $10 a day. So that's kind of was my experience that made me be like, oh, I don't know how this would work. But what
Right.
is your take on that?
No, I think in a lot of cases that can happen. Even with our clients who we run ads for, we tell them, hey, that first month is just us getting into the account, us getting used to it, us figuring out what you have in there, what we can add to it. Um, we we do usually have to bid a little bit higher or use some of the things in each of the accounts, like the bid placement adjustments, which you can charge a little bit more for getting to the top of search. We can use uh, something I was seeing just people asking about the other day, like bid strategy, fixed bid versus like up and down. We've done some up and down bidding for our folks who are significantly profitable who might end up paying twice as much for a bid, and that can sometimes get them moving faster. We have clients that they regularly spend $30,000 a month on ads. And so when you've got that kind of scale, you're seeing the results, you're seeing them faster. But at the start, it was not anywhere close to that spend. So I would definitely say you're right that speed to first data point or speed to first analysis, Amazon would be slower than Facebook. But it is possible. It's just one of those like you do kind of need to know what you're doing to a certain extent to get it to actually spend the money.
So is your experience that, okay, so it may take more time, but is it your experience that people do get higher ROI using Amazon ads versus Facebook ads? Like, is that why you prefer it, or are there other reasons you prefer it?
Yes, I do think there's a higher ROI there on Facebook, um, or sorry, on Amazon. I think there's a higher ROI, but it is kind of tough because if someone's been running a lot of Facebook ads and then they start running the Amazon ads, it's tough to tell at first where the
Yeah,
ROI is coming from.
and also like when you say it's more profitable, is that coming from like I'm going to see that in the ROAS, or is that coming from maybe a snowball effect type of thing?
Snowball.
Okay.
It's the actual return on ad spend as reported by Amazon. We've seen it be an underestimate. I think that the Amazon attribution links through Facebook have the same underestimate. I just think it's really difficult for these companies to actually track the sales coming in because I don't know, it was poorly set up to begin with. I'm not sure why it's so much of a struggle, but it cannot easily track ebook. It cannot easily track KENP.
Yeah, and the snowball thing is really interesting, and I do think it makes sense that that could be more effective for KU authors, especially who already, I mean, yeah, just because snowball is easier to achieve with KU, right? You get
Right.
more rank up and downs than you do with wide. So, but at large spends, you can get the snowball wide as well.
I know. It's
Yeah,
true. It's
yeah.
absolutely true.
But it's like you
Um,
said, or earlier, like we don't have to choose. Like we can definitely be on more than one, and we may also just find one that you're like personally, it's easier for you to use. Like someone could be listening and be
yes.
like, "Yeah, I'm wide, and I like, Amazon ads, and or I'm in KU and I like Facebook ads." Like, and it's perfectly fine. It's like if one just like clicks with you better, that's perfectly fine.
I would not be surprised if there's certain Clifton strengths that make you
Mm,
like one platform over another, And you're
it's
like,
true. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember I was talking with Becca Syme once, and she said something about how, like, because I would always, I mean, give a little bit of like the motivational, like I think everyone can do it, right? Like, why would you think some people can't do it? Like, I don't, that's just not where you come from. Maybe like as sort of a teacher or as someone who's like
sure.
being like, look, I did this, I can show you how or whatever. It's not your mindset, but she said something along the lines of, yeah, some people just really can't. And I didn't like it. I didn't like when she said,
I
but
know she actually posted something about this the other day.
I didn't
The
see
if
that
I
one
can,
either.
if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Oh, yes, I
But
did see that.
yep, but
Yeah. No, and I actually think that's one of the things where um, like, where we, both as teachers, but even just as sort of people in the space, where when we put down ourselves, we sort of think we're being humble, but
hmm,
in a way, we're like, oh, by not acknowledging our strengths, we are making it sort of seem like it should be easier than it is. You know what I mean?
right.
And I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I like come from a computer science background, but like it doesn't affect me at all. I don't use anything. I mean, which is true, right? It's true. Like nothing they taught is about running
Right.
Facebook ads. And I did know, like, I'm less intimidated by it. I think that's comes from the background, but it's like, oh, okay, listen, I probably learned something about data that did help me, and that, yeah, okay, I can acknowledge that, and that makes it um, easier for people who are struggling with ads to be like, oh, okay, like it's not just me. Maybe I would have learned something if I had majored in computer science. That would have helped me
Right.
there.
Right. Yeah. Here's an online computer science degree link, affiliate link. No. Um, let's move into the lightning round because this has been awesome. I love this discussion. Because I think this is going to be valuable for listeners. I'm all about you wanting if you want to try the lightning sound again, Skye, you
I
absolutely
can do
can.
it. It's like I remember it. Maybe
Okay.
it's like it's split. No, dang it.
Yeah.
What is it?
No, I think that was good. We're gonna go with that.
All right. We don't know what lightning sounds like.
It's true. None of us know. Skye, what do you think is the most challenging part of advertising for authors to understand?
Okay, I'm gonna say this fast because I'm gonna do true lightning
Lightning,
this
true
time.
lightning.
All right. So for Facebook ads specifically, it's definitely ROI. And I'm gonna like the simplest way. There's a lot of ways, and I've taught some more complicated ways, but the simplest way is just look at what it was making in a certain period before, like 2 weeks before, and a certain period after, like 1 week or 2 weeks before. Average it by day and compare those numbers. And yes, it's going to take time to build. Wide books tend to show faster. KU books tend to take a solid, like, I feel like 2 weeks before you really know. But if it's trending in the right direction, you can trust it will keep trending and then measure. But measure it. It's worth knowing. It feels tricky, but once you do it a few times, the math a few times, it's going to be like, oh, I'm just literally adding and dividing. It's like straightforward. You'll get used to it.
Love it. Great answer. I'm ready for my question.
Okay, so the question is, the speed of AI assisted publishing seems to have made rapid release less effective for non AI authors. What should former rapid release authors focus on instead?
Well, I don't know. Roland sends these questions in. I thought this was a good question. I don't know if I truly believe that rapid release doesn't
I
work.
did question the assumption
Yeah,
as I was reading
I,
it,
I,
but
I do think that it certainly could be less effective than it used to be. We'll just say whether or not that's AI, whether or not that's because of AI, it is what it is. But let's just say rapid releasing became less effective. Let's
okay.
just make that assumption at some point in the future. I mean, rapid releasing is a tactic. It is a tactic that faster authors can do, can use. It is a tactic, and tactics do change over time. We need to be open to adapting to the way the actual publishing world works. And so, if someone loves writing fast, but maybe releasing books, KU books, really, really fast doesn't work as well anymore, maybe they are trying other things. Maybe they are trying like Vela. Maybe they are trying things like Royal Road. Maybe they are trying things like other platforms where fast writing is rewarded in different ways. But maybe it isn't about necessarily writing faster and then having to release it faster and having to always think about that launch. Maybe it's about banking books. Maybe it's about, hey, you write really fast so that in 3 months you can go on break. You can go on vacation. You can take your
Right. Yeah, I think
family. You can have joy.
yeah, I think one of the interesting parts of the question is that it doesn't really mention how the rapid release author felt about doing rapid releases. I mean, if they were comfortable doing it, you could keep doing it even without an
Mm-hmm.
algorithmic advantage. And there still is
Right.
a level where consistency helps, with your own reader base.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they know Katie Cross, who we highlighted a few weeks ago, she sells direct every month, releases a book on the same day of the month. So it's like a subscription service, and her readers freaking love it.
Yeah, I think honestly, releasing too rapidly is a problem that or having so much content that you would release it too fast is like not a problem that I see often. But when I do see it, I'm kind of like, do another pen name, just do another pen name, and then they both
Mm-hmm.
release. You know,
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. You just got too many words to put out into the world. Um, Skye, I know you've got some books in Kindle Unlimited, some books wide. Um, how do you decide which books to publish wide, which ones to launch or keep in Kindle Unlimited?
so I'm just sort of like primarily, especially as my Skye name, which is most of my books and
Yeah.
most of what I do, is wide. And so the default is that it's always going to be wide.
Yeah.
I think especially, that was even true a few years ago, but especially after the blow up of like, apps and stuff, which sort of like went high and then dipped a little, but I think will stick around on some level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It just became, there's too many places where, I have readership to sort of pull that. A KU would be a new pen name.
Right. That totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. All right, you got a question for me?
Yes, I do. Um, Hang on. Sorry, I've
Oh,
lost
that's
my
okay.
screen.
It's
How do I?
the goals
Oh,
one
wait. Okay.
towards the bottom. This has happened to
Please.
me. I was trying to record something earlier, and it's like 3, 2, 1, and then it suddenly blinked off the screen. I'm like, this is missing the point of why I'm using this app. But yeah.
Okay. Do you put your goals for your books or your career in writing, and how do you keep focused on them?
So at various points in my career, I have put my goals in writing. I used to have a notebook where I would write my to-dos for the day and my goals for the future on 2 columns. I kind of want to get back into that. And I'm always thinking about what did I used to do that I like doing that I stopped doing for no reason. And I really like writing my goals every day. It does, I think, lead to a little bit of stress because it's like if I'm not anywhere close to that, I can feel that to a certain extent. But it's really nice to just consistently have it in your face, consistently have it. Even writing it, it's leaving your body into your hands. You like feeling it in your brain by writing it down. Like there's some real benefit to that. And doing it every day was really, really helpful for me. I want to get back into the swing of things there. Keeping focused on them, have them in places you'll see. There was a time where I would have my primary goal in my wallet in front of my ID. And so if I open my wallet, literally the first thing I see is my goals. And I haven't done that in a while. I think in part because I was like, oh, it's annoying to pull this out and get my ID out. But I mean, sometimes you have to be a little annoyed. Sometimes you have to do things that are a little weird or a little bit uncomfortable in order to keep those goals in your face. Because if you don't have goals, if you don't have them written down, then they are less likely to happen. So if you're really wanting to make things happen in your career, you may have to be a little bit annoyed with how often you have to focus on your goals.
So when you talk about writing down your goals every day, you mean sort of like longer term goals. You don't mean your goals for the
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
Yeah.
Writing down the longer term things that maybe you're in the process of trying to achieve, but you just haven't quite gotten there yet.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense that you'd have to put it somewhere that it was a little bit almost in your face slash annoying to
Mm-hmm.
see them, because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it's like when you drive somewhere and you can't remember any of it, like your brain just fills it all in for you. It's like, yeah, we know where that piece of paper is and we have filled it in. You don't need to look at that. Your brain like highlights things that are out of the ordinary. So it's got to be out of the ordinary wherever you.
Right, right. You almost need to keep switching it up on yourself.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, last question, and obviously, folks can't get into this year's RAM, but maybe a future RAM. At what point in an author's career do you think it makes sense to attend the Romance Author Mastermind?
Yeah, well, so Romance Author Mastermind was founded based on the idea of authors who are kind of either mid-list
Mm-hmm.
or advanced, mid-list being like a super vague term that I feel like we
I
never know
know.
kind of what it is, but that is still the idea, so so I guess I want to get away from the idea that it's sort of like this, some sort of like super advanced, high tech, what's always new kind of place, but more that even though we love debut authors and we want to support them in other spaces, like we just need a place that we don't have to make anyone sort of feel bad about like you haven't written that much or like overwhelmed by all the stuff they're going to have to learn and like the questions are different. And so I think, I guess if I had to put a litmus test on it, I would say that you have kind of tried everything that you can see, but
Mm,
it's not necessarily moving the needle, or you feel scattered and you're kind of like, um how do I focus and how do I really move the needle? But
Yeah.
also, if you just want to like visit and chat with authors, I don't know.
A ringing endorsement from now.
Yeah, I've actually it's the silliest thing. Like I don't we've been just completely lucky enough to sell out because of, you know, physical space, and so I've like never had to sell it. Just kind of like
Yeah.
honestly, but it's great. I mean, I think it just when when the speakers know that they are speaking to this crowd, they speak differently. And I do it
Right.
too. Like I don't, it's not in any mean way, but if I know there are debut or even unpublished authors in the audience, my talk is different. It's
Right.
gotta be. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's really helpful. I think yeah, we do need some new definitions, don't we? Like mid-list. Like anywhere from 10,000, 100,000, I don't know. But
Yeah, I guess from a really technical point of view, you do need at least 5 books published in romance.
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, awesome. But yeah, no, really helpful. Thank you. We need a question of the week.
I got one.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm really excited about this one.
Okay.
Okay. I want to know a piece of writing advice. So, like, I'm talking craft here, not necessarily business. I want to know a
Mm-hmm.
piece of writing advice that you got, but you specifically do not follow. You think it was incorrect.
I love that. Oh, you think it's wrong. I love it. You can answer that question of the week, which I think is really solid, over at Sell More Book Show After Party or the Sell More Book Show website. I'm going to at everyone on both of these so that y'all answer them. I really want to hear some answers on these. You should, all of you listening, consider going to authoradsintensive.com, learning about some ad testing there. Go to skyewarren.com to find out about Skye's awesome books. And hey, when Romance Author Mastermind opens up for 2025, romanceauthormastermind.com. Skye, this has been a blast. I've really enjoyed hearing so much of your great wisdom on a variety of subjects, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Bryan. I love talking shop and I love talking shop with you. So,
Yay, awesome. Great. So go check out Skye's stuff. We'll have another guest co-host next week. I don't remember who it is, so we'll go see. I'll go look at the list later. But for Skye, I'm Bryan. Have a great week of book selling, everybody. Talk to you next week for episode 543. Bye.